I like to read a lot. And as you can tell from the prop that I have right behind me here with all these books on this bookshelf, I read quite a bit. And because of that, I have categories of different kinds of books that I personally quite enjoy. And I wanted to share some of that with you guys today. So, whenever it comes to educational and professional books, there are three main categories that I enjoy reading. The first category is one that I talk about a lot in my personal life, and that's personal finance. Now, this book right here, The Millionaire Next Door, is one of the most well known personal finance books out there. What I like about it is that it has a lot of statistics and data that support its claims. Generally, the premise of the book is simple. If you are a average working adult who has at least a high school education and doesn't get divorced, you have a very high likelihood of becoming a millionaire if you follow pretty basic steps of investing and buying a home. Once you do that, you get to your retirement age, you'll have enough money to retire. What's really inspiring about that book is that a lot of people will lament their ability to become the next multi-trillionaire mogul moves businessman, but that's not necessary to have a happy and fulfilling life, and that book discusses that. The next category of books that I like are business related books. Now, The $100 Startup is one of the books that I had first initially read way back, I want to say near the end of my high school time. And the premise of the book, as you can probably guess from the title, is that you don't need a lot of money to start a business. Now, there are definitely pros and cons to reading books like that. One of the pros, of course, is that you learn a lot more about how to start businesses, how to run businesses, etc. One of the bigger cons of it, of course, is that reading a book isn't taking real action. And when people do is they'll buy 10 or 20 books on starting up businesses, but they never actually take any steps to actually start it up. So reading those kind of books in moderation is really important. The best strategy when you read those books is to read one of those books, take notes, and after that, take action from what the book told you. And if you still feel like you need more education after the fact, pick up the next book. I fell into that trap whenever I was in late high school. I was reading a whole lot of books on starting businesses, but I never really took any steps, and years later I still haven't. And it's a work in progress, but here we are. Last but not least, I also have social psychology books, and that can be brought into another few categories. The first category, of course, would be what this book is, which is How to Win Friends and Influence People. It's an incredibly popular book, and it's worth its weight in gold. This book made a huge difference on my life, and essentially talks about how to, as the title may suggest, win people over in your day-to-day life. Now, of course, in life, there's always going to be people that aren't going to like you. That's completely out of your control. This book basically talks about how to tip the odds in your favor, however, and get the vast majority of people to at least accept your existence, and if not that, also maybe have them like you. Now, other than that kind of book, I also read books on leadership and management. And then there's also, in this category, a few self-help books that are also included in there that basically talk about healing from past depression, healing from past trauma, and that basically broadly encompasses the third category of professional and educational books that I enjoy reading. Now, of course, I'm not just a stick in the mud. I also enjoy reading fun books. And included in those books are things like Rick Riordan's Percy Jackson series, and I actually read his entire Extended Universe series as well, which would include, I think at the time of this recording, either 16 or 17 different books. And one of the draws and appeals to it is that you have a character, Percy Jackson, and throughout the first 10 books, he gets a ton of character development, and you actually get to watch him change and grow throughout the series, as well as the supporting cast of characters, especially within the last 5 books. And he also gets to make appearances throughout the next 6 or 7 books that are currently in the extended universe. And I really enjoy the fact that Rick Riordan, who is a child author, obviously, I mean, obviously he's an adult, but he writes books for children. He takes characters that are like between the ages of 12 and 17 and really help them relate to adult readers, like myself. Now, of course, I also enjoy the Iron Number 4 series. I own the entire series, and I've read it through twice. Really quite enjoy it. It's a really good bridge series between the childhood and the young adult section. It touches on pretty mature themes. And also, what I like about the series, I'm not going to spoil too hard or anything, but you never know when a character might live or die. And that's something that I really appreciate in a book series, because typically your main characters never die. Last but not least, Anything by Brandon Sanderson. Really great fantasy author. I started off reading his Mistborn series. I'm a big fan of his Stormlight Archive series, and he creates vibrant worlds with depth characters, and I can't get over how amazing all of his work is. I've yet to read a bad book by him, and even his, in my opinion, worst series is still above average compared to the average author who I read with fantasy. Now, obviously, you can see in that bookshelf way back over there that I have a lot more books than what I've shown today. Of course, I'll be having images on the screen kind of showing how I organize it. You'll see with my educational books, there are two different sides. The left side are books that I've already read or reread, and the right side are books that I have not completed reading yet. Some of those books I've started but haven't finished for whatever reason, and I like to keep a pretty good balance of both, so I always have an inventory of books that I can read if I need to, but I also like showing what books I have read on the left side, and I keep them. And the reason why I buy these books instead of renting them or going to the library is because I really like being able to go back to books that really had a huge impact on me, and being able to go over some of the passages that I personally really enjoyed. Now, of course, I can look up those passages online, but I'm also a pretentious jerkwad, and I like to show that I read by having a bookshelf behind me. And of course, I also have two different shelves just dedicated to fantasy books that I like to read. A lot of those books, I actually want to say that every single book on that bookshelf I've read at this point. But I reread the Percy Jackson series 3 different times, the Iron Man 4 series twice, the Brandon Sanderson books twice, Harry Potter I've read, I want to say 8 or 9 times at this point, which is ridiculous, by the way. I'm not even that big of a fan overall. It's like, you know how you have a TV show on Netflix, like The Office, for example, that you kind of turn your brain off to? Basically, Harry Potter is that for me, but in book form. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little bit off-brand, not something that I normally make, but I thought it'd be really interesting to explain what's up with my bookshelf, what kind of books that I like to read, etc. I do intend eventually to have some kind of like book club-esque series on this channel, where I talk about a book that I've read, or maybe assign a book for all of you to read, but that's probably going to be way down the pipeline. Maybe on my website, sortacasual.com, I might have an occasional book review on there on my vlog section. Nice plug, by the way. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and please give it a like. If you want to see more, I encourage you to subscribe. I make videos every Monday and Friday, maybe sometimes even Wednesdays, and do not forget to keep it casual.